It looks like the ongoing feud between Conor McGregor and former MMA fighter Daniel Cormier has yet to see its conclusion, since the injured Irishman is still running his mouth against Cormier, calling him a fat mess. In today's video, we'll be unloading what we know about the two men's beef towards each other, so if you're curious to know more, watch until the end. Conor McGregor claps back against Daniel Cormier in a now-deleted tweet. After Cormier responded to the Irishman on his show titled DC and RC, McGregor was quick to fire back in a now-deleted series of tweets, which he posted on August 11th, 2021, where he called Cormier a fat mess and even brought up the former MMA fighter's drunken fiasco during the UFC 264 fight week. Fans and curious audiences of McGregor and Cormier's feud were on the lookout for what the other had to say, and thankfully, they were able to take a screenshot of McGregor's deleted tweets. Daniel Cormier is a fat mess, McGregor began in his tweet, getting into worse condition by the day. God bless him, showing up drunk at media events the very day before he was in the booth calling my fight. Drunk at a media event working, the day before being a commentator on the biggest fight in history. He continued his backlash in another tweet wherein he wrote, "It is a sackable offense for a commentator to be drunk at press work the day before commentating the big fight. Dreadful. Get it together. Belching in the mic at a press event and all. The day before commenting on the big fight. Is this guy serious? Disgraceful." In the third tweet, the Irishman took a jab at Cormier's physique, exclaiming, "Your back situation's just mental too. Your weight and way of life is abysmal. And now drunk at work the day before you commentate on a McGregor event, pitiful." He concluded the outpour by saying, "Congrats, John, on his head kick KO anniversary over you. Good always defeats evil. Wasn't sure you were evil. Fakes." So what caused McGregor to tweet something like that? This brewing feud has been going on for over a few months now and dragged several names into this mess as well. To put some content into his tweets, McGregor was calling out Cormier's pre-game drinks with UFC analyst Laura Sanko right before the official UFC weigh-in show on UFC Fight Pass, which took place almost immediately after Cormier's media availability. If you were wondering if these two have been at it for a long time now, they haven't. In fact, their online squabbles just started last month, when Cormier expressed on his ESPN show when the Irishman hit a low blow towards Khabib Nurmagomedov and his late father in a string of now-deleted tweets. On ESPN MMA, Cormier called out McGregor's tweets, which he considered way too far during his talk with co-host Ryan Clark. Considering how McGregor suffered a terrible loss with a broken leg after his fight with Dustin Poirier at UFC 264, McGregor continued to hurl insults at Poirier and even included Nurmagomedov while he was at it. With Poirier named as the victor of UFC 264, Nurmagomedov tweeted a not-so-subtle jab at the Irishman when he wrote, "Good always defeats evil. Very happy for Dustin Poirier. Always wanted to pick a fight." It took a while for McGregor to respond, but his reply was too low a blow even for the likes of him when he wrote, "The global health situation is good and father is evil," which he deleted after a short while. Khabib suffered the loss of his father due to complications after contracting the illness behind the global health situation, which is what McGregor was referencing in his tweet. Upon seeing this, Cormier reached out to Nurmagomedov to check up on him, which he narrated on the show. "I get shock value and I get trying to get people to talk that way, but too far," Cormier told ESPN MMA, to the point that I immediately called Khabib last night and said, "Are you okay?" asking him if he's okay after having to see that, especially with no ability to do anything about it again. He spoke to my kids at my wrestling program the other day and said he was never happier than when he got to fight McGregor on that day, because for so long he wanted to get his hands on Conor and beat Conor up. Well, he can't do that no more because he's not a prize fighter anymore, Cormier continued, so now he just has to kind of swallow that. Way too far. Honestly, when Conor does stuff like that, it's hard to understand how there's still this mass amount of people that support that type of behavior. Cormier further expressed that McGregor is exhibiting disturbing behavior and how he deliberately meant to offend Nurmagomedov as well as Poirier in his tweets. What's worse is that he even included Poirier's wife in his trash talks and threats. Many people believe that it's his way of distracting his opponent, but as it turns out, Poirier has mental fortitude, but there's no denying that the injured fighter's smack talks are downright offensive, and Cormier was brave enough to call it out. After the fight with Dustin Poirier, a lot of people questioned whether or not Conor McGregor is reaching to try and get in the head of Dustin Poirier, Cormier said. "Reach back to a time where he had trash talk that could affect people. It didn't seem to work against Poirier. I feel like from him talking about Dustin's wife to now Khabib's father, he is just taking it way too far. When you're dealing with death and the global health situation and all these other things that we've dealt with over the last year and a half, that's all off limits. We talked about wives and families being off limits, but when you're talking about a man's everything, Khabib's dad was his everything, and you're talking about him being gone today due to something that has been so terrible for our entire world, you use that in a sense to get back? You know what's most disturbing? This wasn't done the day after the fight or the same night of the fight, Cormier explained. This was done weeks after the fight, so it feels like it was thought of and it was thought through for Conor to tweet something like that. Absolutely crossed the line. fine. I think when stuff like that is being said, it's a cry for help. Conor has all the money in the world, he has all the fame, but now when you start to dig at that level, it's like somebody needs to get to McGregor and help him to start to kind of reshift his mind and his focus and get him back to a better place. It's unfortunate. To this, McGregor immediately took to Twitter his response to Cormier. He attached a photo of him and Poirier during his recent match where he's seen kicking Poirier. He tried to mock Cormier when he wrote in the caption, "Clean check right there by Poirier, fat drunk." Inevitably, the commentator answered him back, which he shared on DC and RC, his video podcast. It's much easier for me because I work at ESPN. We have a department that does that can get every one of the kicks that Conor did get checked. He also called McGregor out, saying that he should worry about the fighters who beat him up, wherein he said, "Stop worrying about me. Don't worry about Daniel Cormier. Don't worry about the things that I'm saying. Don't worry about how I'm dressing and how I'm looking. Don't do that. Worry about the dudes that keep beating your ass every time you go into the octagon. I'm not the guy you've got to worry about fighting," Cormier continued. "I'm done. I'm retired. I'm living my best life. You need to worry about trying to beat the guys that you fight against. Get off the internet. I don't hate this dude, but McGregor, fall back." Because of his broken leg, McGregor is far from taking on any matches soon, and UFC President Dana White halted every plan he had for the trash-talking MMA fighter. Despite taking a break from the octagon, McGregor continues to pick several fights, albeit on the internet, which pretty much explains why this online feud with Cormier is still going strong. The former MMA fighter turned commentator admitted that this rebuttal of McGregor meant no offense, and he only wanted him to encourage a positive intake from where he's currently at. The reality is, McGregor is a high-level fighter, but when I said it was a cry for help, I did it with no ill intent, Cormier shared. "This was just me saying, find some people that are willing to step up and say, hey man, let's get everything right. But the reality is, I don't need to be friends with Conor McGregor, so I really don't care what he says about me personally. I'm going to continue to do my job, and where he deserves praise, he'll get praise. Where he deserves to be critiqued, he will get critiqued. But all those kicks were landed in about a minute." The commentator also reminded everyone, for the last 4 minutes of that round, it was Dustin Poirier beating up Conor McGregor. Let's not forget what happened in the fight, so let's not get too distracted with all the other stuff. So far, McGregor has had the last word as of late, so we'll see if Cormier has anything more to say to this injured MMA star. That being said, we'll be wrapping up today's video about Conor McGregor and Daniel Cormier's online bout. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel before you go. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.